I so wish that I had been able to fulfill your hopes to lead the country in a different direction, but the nation chose another leader, and so Ann and I join with you to earnestly pray for him and for this great nation.
Each of us has deeply held beliefs, and when we go through tough times, when we make big decisions as a country, it necessarily stirs passions, stirs up controversy. That won't change after tonight.
You know, we're a show about human behavior and about human experience, and I'm trying to stay non-political, but it's hard not to when people are so split apart the way we are in this country. And the leaders seem conciliatory. Adam, you've been the most inflammatory so far. Kim, I haven't heard from you yet. I will in just a second, but I'll go to you, Adam. Somewhere in here, I'm concerned that there is a problem coming where the federal government is going to collide with the states. I mean, I think the pot initiatives are very interesting. Those states have now said this is what they want to do. They should be allowed to do that if that's what they want to do. The federal government says no. How much should our federal government be intruding into the communities, into the states, and into our lives? Isn't that really what's that's going on here?
Drew, you're talking to me, Andy? Okay,
yeah. What did I say?
No, that's okay, Adam. That's fine. My parents do that. What are you going to do? So when it comes to drug laws, look, the federal drug laws in the book say, no to marijuana, no to LSD and heroin. So if the states are going to legalize it, they're still subject to federal laws. So when it works in one direction, you have to respect it. Just like with Obamacare, the Supreme Court ruling said, hey, that has to fly, so the states have to accept it. So liberals can't like it on one hand and then not like it on the other. I mean, that's just, it is what it is. The federal government supersedes the states.
Kim, help me with this. How are we going to heal these camps? How do we come together? We're doing it for a storm in the Northeast, I think. How do we do it, continue to do it to solve the problems of our country?
Yeah, it is true. You see Bruce Springsteen and Governor Chris Christie clearly coming together, two people from opposite sides of the political spectrum. They managed to come together. So I think that's definitely a good sign, even though Chris Christie clearly taking some heat for it from maybe the far right of his party. But I think after every election, you say, oh, this is the worst, most angry, most partisan election ever. And then it turns out it's not really. And you figure out a way to go on and the world keeps turning. And I think you also have to look at the generational issues. 19% of the electorate was voters between 18 and 29. So those are people who maybe less identify with party labels, people who maybe climate change is an issue that's important to them that's not so much Republican, Democrat. Marriage equality, an issue that's important to them. Younger people don't frame it as a Republican or Democrat issue necessarily. So I think just as the voting age, as younger people start becoming more active on the political scene, you're going to see a change happening.
I think you're right, although some of the younger people are sort of ringing a libertarian kind of a bell I keep hearing. But looking at those pictures of Governor Christie and Barack Obama coming together to help because of a disaster, I think that is sort of the metaphor for going forward. No, Reva, you don't think so?
You know, we've seen this time and time again, Dr. Drew, but one thing we're ignoring is the race issue. And race is a very sensitive topic in our country. And we're having this big discussion, but we're not talking about the elephant in the middle of the room. And that is this country is still divided along racial lines. And unless we're willing to purge and to have these very difficult discussions that, you in the medical field know that sometimes we've just got to talk about the tough stuff. We're not going to be able to heal. Yes, in the midst of a crisis, we can get a Republican and a Democrat, a black person and a white person to go on television and tour a community and talk about, let's getting along. But every study, every poll shows that this country is as divided today as it was pre-Obama, as it was during his election, and every pundit expects that it will continue to be until we grapple with this ugly thing called race in this country.
And Lisa, you haven't spoken in a couple of minutes. Want to give me a couple thoughts from you here?
Well, I think there is a lot that first of all, I agree with what Areva just said. And I also think that there's a lot that we share. For example, I wrote a piece about voter ID laws on avo.com. I was very concerned that people were going to be deterred from voting. Apparently, that did not happen in any significant way. People showed up in large numbers. They voted. They waited hours and hours in line. This is the kind of thing we can all get behind, that every American should vote. Every American should have basic social services. Of course, we all want to help storm victims, no matter whether they're red or blue or black or white. I mean, we have to find these areas of commonality and enforce them. And I salute Obama and Christie for joining hands across parties to help one another and to support one another. And they were both doing a good thing. We need more of that kind of mutual respect.
I agree. That's right.